The studio lights blazed overhead, casting a harsh glow on the polished set as laughter erupted from the news anchor, a sharp, cutting sound that sliced through the air like a blade. Krista Malone, known for her razor-sharp wit and unflappable demeanor, leaned forward in her chair, her eyes gleaming with amusement as she stared at her guest, Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. The veteran politician sat stiffly, his trademark red tie a stark contrast against his dark suit, his face a mask of quiet resilience. The topic had been a heated debate on rural health care funding, but Krista's sudden outburst, triggered by a quip about Kennedy's folksy drawl, had turned the segment into a spectacle. "Oh, come on, Senator," she chuckled, brushing a strand of dark hair from her face. "Are we really supposed to take you seriously with that accent? Sounds like you're auditioning for a backwoods comedy show." The crew stifled giggles, and the audience at home likely joined in, but Kennedy's expression didn't waver. For a moment, the room held its breath, waiting for his response. Then, in a voice steady but thick with emotion, he leaned closer to the microphone and said, "Krista, I reckon you might not know this, but that backwoods accent you're laughing at? It's the voice of a man who lost his little girl to a hospital that couldn't save her because it didn't have the funds." The words hit like a thunderclap, silencing the studio. Krista's laughter died in her throat, her smile fading as the weight of his revelation sank in. She shifted uncomfortably, her professional facade cracking as she realized the depth of the story she'd unwittingly stumbled into. Kennedy, a man known for his dry humor and sharp political jabs, wasn't just a caricature of Southern charm. He was a father carrying a wound that time had never fully healed. The segment, meant to be a quick 10-minute debate, stretched into something far more personal as he continued, his voice trembling slightly. "Her name was Emily," he said, looking past the camera as if seeing her ghost. "She was 8 years, old, full of life, and she needed a specialist we didn't have in our town. By the time we got her to Baton Rouge, it was too late. That's why I fight for this, because no parent should bury their child over something as fixable as money." Krista felt a lump rise in her throat, her years of hosting high-stakes interviews offering no shield against the raw vulnerability in his eyes. She'd grown up in the polished world of urban media, where emotions were scripted and tears were rare, but now she found herself grappling with a story that hit too close to home. Unbeknownst to her audience, Krista had lost her own brother to a similar fate years ago, a car accident in a rural area where the nearest trauma center was hours away. She'd buried that pain deep, channeling it into her career. But Kennedy's words pried it open like an old wound. I didn't know," she stammered, her voice softening. "I'm so sorry, Senator." The apology felt inadequate, but it was a start, a bridge between her cynicism and his grief. As the interview progressed, Kennedy opened up further, sharing how Emily's death had nearly broken him and his wife, Mary. He spoke of late nights poring over legislation, of the guilt that gnawed at him for not pushing harder sooner, and of the small victories, like a new clinic in their hometown, that kept him going. Krista, usually the one steering the conversation, found herself listening intently, her usual interjections replaced by nods and quiet encouragement. The crew, too, seemed captivated, the usual rustle of papers and whispers fading into a respectful hush. But the story took a turn when Krista, emboldened by his honesty, shared her own loss. "I lost my brother Jake to something similar," she admitted, her voice breaking. "He was 16, and I've spent years blaming myself for not being there. Hearing you talk about Emily, it's like looking in a mirror." The admission hung between them, a shared thread of pain that transformed the interview into a dialogue of healing. Kennedy reached across the desk, offering a weathered hand, and Krista took it, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. The moment was unscripted, raw and real, a stark contrast to the polished news segments viewers were accustomed to. But the challenges weren't over. As the segment aired, social media erupted. Some praised the vulnerability, calling it a rare glimpse of humanity in politics, while others criticized Krista for her initial insensitivity, accusing her of exploiting Kennedy's tragedy for ratings. The backlash hit her hard, threatening her reputation and the show's credibility. Kennedy, too, faced scrutiny, with opponents questioning his motives, suggesting he'd used his daughter's death as a political ploy. For days, Krista wrestled, with self-doubt, replaying the laughter that had sparked the ordeal. She considered stepping down, convinced she'd crossed an unforgivable line. Kennedy, meanwhile, stood by her, issuing a public statement defending her growth and the importance of their shared story. "We all stumble," he said in a press conference, "but it's what we do after that counts." Inspired, Krista decided to fight back, using her platform to launch a series on rural healthcare, featuring experts and families affected by inadequate resources. She invited Kennedy as a regular contributor, and together they turned their personal losses into a movement. The series gained traction, drawing attention from policymakers and sparking grassroots efforts to fund more clinics. Months later, on a crisp autumn evening, Krista and Kennedy sat together at a community event in Louisiana, celebrating the groundbreaking of a new healthcare facility named after Emily and Jake. The crowd cheered as they cut the ribbon, their faces reflecting a mix of pride and lingering sorrow. Krista, once guarded and cynical, had found a new purpose, while Kennedy, once burdened by guilt, had found redemption in action. As they stepped back, hands clasped, she whispered, "Thank you, John, for showing me what strength really looks like." He smiled, his eyes crinkling. "And thank you, Krista, for giving us a voice." The story ended with a powerful message. Pain, when shared and transformed, can become a catalyst for change. Viewers were left inspired, not just by the resilience of two individuals, but by the possibility that even the deepest wounds could lead to healing, for themselves and for others. The 15-minute video closed with a call to action, urging viewers to support local healthcare initiatives, a fitting tribute to the lives lost and the lives saved through their courage.